Good afternoon. My name is Tom White. I'm the publisher at Home Energy Magazine. Today we're interviewing Caroline Veerman, who's the president of the board of AIBD California, the American Institute of Building Design, and another board member from the society, Clay Johnson. We're at the Skyline campus, Community College in San Bruno, California, and we're here as part of the AIBD annual conference on building science and building design. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Tell us more about the mission of AIBD and some of the national design or professional standards developed by AIBD for the building designer.
Sure. AIBD is a fairly old professional association of building designers. It was started in the 50s in California. It's now a national association. Our California Society is an organization underneath that national umbrella. The basis for that is, as with any professional association, is for those professionals to gather, learn from each other, support each other, and represent ourselves to the public and make the public more aware of who we are and what we bring forth, which is the profession of building design.
And how do you define a building designer as opposed to a builder or an architect? Where do they fit in that realm or continuum?
A building designer is a non-licensed building professional. Architects are licensed by states. Architects can design any type of building. Building designers largely focus on residential design. Throughout the United States, there's different standards for different states. In California, we specialize in residential design. And some of us practice some amount of tenant improvement, which is also allowed for in a non-licensed position.
You work in single family and multifamily?
Multifamily up to 4 units on a piece of property, so duplexes and fourplexes.
Okay. Tell me more about how you found the Skyline campus and the relationship you've had with the Energy, Solar, and Technology Management program here, why you decided to use this campus as a conference venue.
Well, that's a story that is only a year old. A year ago, while at a conference in Denver, an ACI conference, I met Peter Waring, who works at the school here. He's an adjunct professor. Complete serendipity, at lunch, someone who knew both of us, we all sat down to the same table, and he said, "You two should talk to each other." And he didn't know what building designers were, and I didn't know that Skyline College had a building science lab. And we just started chattering away, and then throughout that conference we found ourselves in the same seminar sessions multiple times, and became friends and started this embryonic idea of, wow, wouldn't it be great to have building designers be at Skyline College to learn about building science through the school. And so after that, the California Society, we have an annual conference every year for our own members in large part, and but this opportunity was so interesting and had so much potential that basically I brought it to our board and suggested that this is something we should do. And I was personally very committed to it because I'm very committed to designing better buildings, and I think everyone should design better buildings that have better performance, better durability, better air quality. And the board agreed. We put the motions in place. We started meeting with the administration at Skyline College, and basically over the last year, we've put this together, and the conference these few days is the fruition of that.
Great. And how's it worked out having this as a venue?
Wonderful. It's very exciting. it's exciting for me, and that's easy to understand. What I really find interesting is many other people recognize that. Attendees at the conference are impressed with the school, impressed that there's a building science program, and actually through Peter, he's brought in all sorts of people that we didn't have direct contact with. For example, you and your magazine. So there's been kind of multiple layers of synergy that are pretty great, and all the feedback I'm getting so far from various attendees and presenters and so on is that everybody's really excited because people are making the connection and people are growing and learning. That's why we're doing this. So.
I'd like to add to what Clay is saying. It's super to be on a campus with students. One of the things that AIBD is looking to do is to bring awareness of our society and this profession to the public, and to be on a campus where students have interest and choices of their careers. It's a perfect opportunity to allow them to know about our profession, and then to integrate with the building science lab here and the programs. It's new, it's exciting, and we want to be part of that. So having Clay and Peter, having them to meet and then having a conference here on the campus is just a super fruition of what some of our goals were.
Right. How many members in the California Society?
Total members?
Total members?
Something like 45, 50, something like that.
65, I think.
65, okay.
Yeah.
All over the state?
Yeah, very spread out. It's a large state.
The conference was one of its first addressing building design while operating hands-on devices and incorporating measurement instruments as part of the learning process. And I was wondering if you could tell me more about what some of those hands-on devices were that the attendees got to use here at the lab, and how does that help you bridge the gap between building science and building design?
Well, I find that the most interesting part of this conference is because all other conferences that I've gone to on building science, it's been designed for builders and contractors. And having the opportunity for this conference to be designed for designers and integrating building science, it was wonderful because now designers get to put their hands on the tools like a blower door or the combustible gadgets, or test that blaster in the ducts, the air pressure differentials. That's exciting to do in the lab, and I haven't gotten to that part yet because all the classes so far that I've chosen to do, but I'm going to go there this afternoon. And I've been encouraging all the building designers at the conference to go do that, because it's one thing to hear about it in class and to understand the measurements or to get exposed to the figures, but what does that mean until you're actually operating the devices? So that's the most exciting part of this conference, in my opinion.
In my own trajectory of learning over the last 5 years, experiencing what a blower door actually measures and how it stresses the building and how you can perceive that is a very distinct, visceral way to learn and understand air infiltration. And then I further went out and bought a blower door and took it onto job sites, and I got to watch building contractors go through that same learning curve. And it's a very powerful way to learn something. And once you learn that, then you can pay attention to air infiltration. It would be ineffective to try and make specifications and direct builders and make plans about air infiltration if you don't know viscerally what you're trying to accomplish. So that hands-on aspect is vital to truly learning something. there's an added benefit too, is the use of blower doors and duct blasters and combustion testers is becoming more common on job sites on our projects. I want for our designers to know not necessarily how to operate them, but I want them to know how they operate, what they're measuring, and so that when they're on a job site, when this occurs, when the ERS radar comes out, they are conversant and they are up to speed with what's going on, because we all need to understand this stuff. I mean, today it's still emerging skills and things that are occurring on job sites. 5 years from now, it's going to be like a cell phone. Everyone has to know how to use one. So
there was a program today on what does it take to specify energy efficiency features when you're not the person who's doing the work. Can you give some examples of how building designers are specifying the building envelope in ways they may not have before, or designing ventilation strategies that they may not be installing but are learning new skills in terms of educating the contractor or specifying those details?
I know in my own experience, I wasn't able to attend that seminar, but I know the woman that presented it. But in my own learning, basically, I have learned more about how these things operate, and when I have the chance, I can literally get my hands on it, or get in the room, or get on construction sites, and understand the challenges of implementing those, so that I can effectively put those specifications into the plans so contractors can understand it. That's our, a plan set and list of specifications is our baseline communication from our profession to contractors. And it's a record, so the result is drawings are more complete. They have better information, and actually I'm starting to include specifications for intent. Like, I'm beyond what's required by code. I'm putting specifications on targets for blower door tests. And
the tightness of the house.
Exactly. And so as soon as I do that, even though it's beyond what's required by code right now, it will be in the future, very, very shortly. It raises everybody's awareness. It raises the contractor's awareness. And I tell my clients why I'm doing this, because it's in one sense it's a measure of quality of construction, and it has a verifiable result in how the building performs in the future. And then as I explain this to contractors who may not be familiar with a blower door or the blower door test, they want to perform. They want to get the job, or if they already have the job, they want to perform well and please their client. So they want to know what this is, and so they're curious. Then I bring the blower door out, and they're on it, because contractors, by and large, are very empirical learners. If you get the tools out there, they want to know how tools work and how to use them, and how to use them well, and then they're all over the house buttoning things up. So it raises everybody's standards when you can bring this information through a set of plans and bring it forth.
Do you work with like Greenpoint raters or lead home verifiers to actually evaluate whether the goals for energy efficiency or construction materials or water efficiency have been met? Is that something that you've partnered with any of those, like Build a Green or the Lead for Homes, lead APs that are involved in residential buildings? Is that a connection that building designers have made?
Not so much in my business from those raters. But can I respond to the last question,
yes,
and then come back to this question? Because I love the question about specifying, and Clay's description was wonderful in terms of what he's doing and how we could improve our plans to the levels of homeowners understanding what they're getting in terms of their homes being better.
Right.
But our membership of AIBD has a very strong background in construction. And because of that, our set of working drawings that comes out from our members on a general whole is very good, because it has a lot of details and specifications of hardware, of structural components, just in general. We have very good work coming out of our members, and adding the specifications for an energy efficient home is right up our alley in terms of adding that level of information. And so the class that was held today on specifying energy efficient methods, was about drawing that air barrier location, or where was that thermal boundary going to take place. And we didn't get far enough into the end of the slides because we had so many good questions coming out from the audience, from the designers in the class. And it just told me again that that's a strength of our membership is to have that construction background. And I'm excited for us to have more education on that part, because it's hands-on, it's what we do, and it's not theory, it's right into our practice every day. And we think about it, we concentrate on it, and we could actually produce information on the drawings that then is a communication channel to the contractors and to the homeowner. So I was excited about that class today. And for Judy, who presented it, because she has a ton of experience in that area. So.
Remind me, the presenter's name was?
Judy Rachel.
So my earlier question had to do with sort of the verification side of things. Once things have been designed, do the designers have a role in actually going on the site to see that the construction materials, construction methods, test out, as it were, to evaluate, or even looking at post-occupancy, post-commissioning utility bills? Is that something that building designers are now thinking of in terms of measuring the building performance?
We're starting to do that. And it varies with one's practice and where you are in the state and what kind of standards are in place. There's different locales that sometimes have more stringent standards than others in terms of outside verifications. So for what I've experienced, actually I've worked on 2 Lead for Homes projects, and so I've worked with lead raters in that way, in that system. But something that is kind of related to that is various versions of integrated project delivery, which is a subject that Ann Edminster has brought to this conference. It's also something that I've been practicing various forms of and an advocate of, which is more participation, in very short, more participation of the contracting part of it, the contractor's role earlier on in the design process, potentially even from the very beginning, and more participation than is the usual of the designer during the construction process, which I feel is the most ideal way to do verification, rather than having a verifier come at the end or periodically.
Too late, perhaps.
Exactly. And because what I find is on good projects where we're working well together, I can aid the contractor in doing his job and help him anticipate what situations are coming up and why we need to look at certain things, which is very collaborative and so on. So that's one other version of that too.
Either one of you can answer this question. Do you have some follow-up?
I had a follow-up.
Yeah.
I had my own house Green Point rated a few years ago, And I wanted to do that because I wanted to learn about the verification process, and I also wanted to go through the entire checklist to be a kind of my own guinea pig, you know, through all these different methods. And it was a tremendous learning curve for me because verification wasn't as easy as I thought. And I worked with a green moderator who came by and was looking for those things. And I thought, well, with my experience, I'll be able to pass those very easily. But we had to go through a couple things, a couple times to get through some of that installation verification, for instance. But in the end, it was worth doing because now I could understand what a homeowner would be going through if that was part of their path on the project. And it was a very good experience.
Speaking of sort of paths to better buildings, have the AIBD members, perhaps more so in California, had much to do with passive house design? That's involved in that movement or that building to those specifications?
One of our members, Graham Irwin, is very active in the passive house community, and actually I've taken the passive house training primarily because I wanted to know what those people knew, and then there's a few other people that have some interest, but that of our membership, those are the two examples that I know of.
And there's a San Diego chapter that started a few months ago.
That's right. Yeah.
The passive house, and I'm in that chapter, and it's a lot of fun getting together monthly with like-minded people, and I'm happy that there's a chapter down there.
I went to the Passive House California meeting in Santa Cruz. So it was just a week ago.
A week ago, yeah.
It was pretty good attendance there too. Visitors from all over the world.
Yeah.
Well, my last question, and then I'll let you guys sort of answer anything else that comes to mind. My last question is, what about solar and water? How do those fit into the toolkit of a building designer, especially in California? They're both either a boon or a bust, as it were. We have a lot of solar and we don't have any water.
They're actually, both of those are right in the middle of that complete integration about home performance. They're vital. They're individually, I mean, solar, that usually means, are we talking about solar collection? I call it harvesting, PV or solar thermal. And in general, depending on what it's driving, it's PV, it's general, it's electricity. I always move forward with as much as I can do to the building itself and reducing loads before I start adding panels. And solar thermal is not as common as it used to be because PV is so versatile. But I installed one on my house because the balance of what I was doing with it and the availability of PVs at that time, solar thermal was a better decision for my own project. But honestly, the solar thermal is not as common, and it certainly doesn't have the popularity. That's not the right word, but clients aren't asking for that. Their PVs are so in the media that they don't get requested. Not that I let that limit the information that I bring to my clients, but PVs are very versatile, and with heat pump water heaters, it kind of puts those pieces together, and you can bank energy with a PV. It's a much smaller period of time that you can bank solar thermal, and that's biggest difference in its applicability that I find.
Well, just to wrap up then, are there any last points you want to make for ways people can continue their education as building designers, or any more information you want to provide about AIBD?
Oh, this campus is a wonderful resource for building designers. That's one of the reasons we're having our conference here, is so that they could find interest in the programs that Skyline teaches. And there is a certification or a certificate program here at Skyline that they could consider pursuing. I had something else on my mind and I lost it.
This conference that we've produced this year is significantly larger and broader in a number of ways than any conference AIBD California has put together. Larger in terms of scope of subject matter, larger in terms of who we're reaching out to participate in the conference. Largely, it's been our own membership that we're speaking to, and we're still speaking to our membership, but we want to open that up and pull more people in, particularly the contractors that we work with, or even the contractors we don't work with. And because this symbiosis that we have with contractors is vital for successful projects. And ultimately, I mean, when we're talking about building performance, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about something that will continue to work for 40 years after we've left. And so we need an integrated process, an integrated team to put together excellent projects that actually do that. So contractors and building designers working together, and then actually being educated together, and finding common ground and complementary ground and complementary skills is very important. That's a very strong reason why we're reaching out. And actually there's other professions too. We've been reaching out to interior designers and the rater community and compliance community and consultants and so on, because all these people are important in making decisions to make excellent projects. And so that's why we're broadening both those scopes for this conference. We hope to continue to do so.
Great. Well, what's the website where people can find out more about AIBD California?
It's AIBDCA.org.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
That'll do it.
That was awesome.
Bravo, well done.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.